All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Fortune teller, can you see what my future's going to be? Can you see it all in your crystal ball? Have you got a dream for me? Fortune teller, is she free? Has she waited just for me? You can see it all in your crystal ball. Tell me that it's meant to be. Tell me, tell me, tell me.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone, for hour 2 of tonight's show. And we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. My guest this hour is Leanne Barefoot, and she is in Australia. Leanne is a medium. She's a psychic. She does transformational coaching. She's a spiritual teacher, intuitive criminal investigator, medical intuitive, and does twin flame and conscious relationship coach. She is a relationship coach. I messed that up, didn't I?
No, you did fabulously.
How are you, Leanne? And it's always nice talking to somebody in Australia because it's already tomorrow over there, and we're still behind you somehow. And this, to me, proves time travel is real.
Yeah, I know. I'm talking to you from the future.
That's right. Can you tell me the lottery numbers for tomorrow, please? No way. I thought I'd try.
No. Yeah, I love it.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, dear.
So, as you said, I'm a medium. I'm a natural medium. So I was born with the ability to connect and communicate with our loved ones who've passed over, and to be able to bring through their messages to those of us who are still in the physical world. Mm-hmm. So that's my main way of working. I've had many, many experiences of hearing, feeling, seeing spirit people or lost past loved ones in my lifetime. And I really enjoy doing that work and supporting people to move through their grief and loss.
What was it like the first time, Leanne, that you actually were able to communicate with someone on the other side and to help heal the grief, the emotions of someone on this side of the veil?
Yeah, there's been so many people that I've connected with over the years, and my first loved one that had passed over was actually one of my own that I consciously remember and communicating with him. So it was an experience for me to move through my own grief and loss, and a gift that I now take with me and know how others feel when I bring through their loved ones. What it does is allow you to, it's a real honour, I guess, to witness the love between the person still here and the person that's passed.
Has there ever come a time when somebody has sat in front of you and said, Leanne, I'd like for you to connect with, let's say, Aunt Harriet, and you do what you do, and Aunt Harriet connects with you, and she says, I have Simon here who would like to talk with you, and Aunt Harriet says, no way. Has that ever happened?
Yeah, it does. There can be, so like, our loved ones who've passed over have personalities that, represent them when they leave this world. And so if you don't like someone in the physical world, you spiritually it's going to be difficult to connect with them. Or it may not be the right timing, or there might be other reasons why they don't want to come through and talk.
Now, when you connect with those on the other side, where exactly are they? Are they in heaven? Are they in limbo? Or are they somewhere else that we have yet to identify as the place where they meet?
Yeah, I guess it depends on your spiritual beliefs or your religious beliefs in what you would call that. Personally, I don't come from a religious background, so I don't refer to it as heaven. It's more a energetic space where we physically go to after the soul leaves this earth plane. Some people call that heaven. Some people call it the spirit world. Some people call it other names. It's just an energetic location. I like to think of it like they've moved to a different city.
Now, when communicating with the other side, have they ever talked to you about what it's like after you die or what the dying process is like?
Yeah. I've actually supported a number of clients and a number of my own loved ones to transition from the physical world to the next. And I don't believe that any souls get stuck between here and that next world, whatever we call that. What happens is that the soul is detaching from the physical body, and we leave the physical body here and move on to that next space, that next realm, that next world, that next location. There is no pain, there is no suffering, there is none of that when we get to that space.
How about near-death experiences? When you hear about a near-death experience, they talk about the light, they talk about meeting loved ones, and then because it's a near-death experience, they're sent back. Is there any correlation or any similarity between the process where it surpasses the near-death experience to where it is, final?
I guess with that transitioning from the physical world to that next world, we can often see the next world as a light that we're moving towards. It's energy that we're seeing or witnessing, or we might feel that. We often find that people's loved ones gather around them. So often in the lead up to someone passing from this world to the next, they may start talking about their loved ones who've already passed and seeing them in dreams and feeling them around them. I've seen quite a few people who are making that transition have whole groups of loved ones around them, preparing them for moving to that next space, or preparing them, letting them know what it's like, giving them healing, and then potentially coming back because it's not their time yet.
Where does reincarnation play in the entire scenario here?
Good question. So if we're a soul in a physical body, then we're energy in a physical body in this lifetime.
Right.
So our soul, if you believe in reincarnation, and some people do and some people don't, our soul can come back in a different physical form to experience different things in the next lifetime, different learnings, different lessons, different ways of being in the world. The soul exists and still remembers at that energetic level, and so we just choose to have different experiences if we come back.
Exonation, my guest this hour is Leanne Barefoot, and we're talking to Leanne from her home in Australia. And you're listening to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell right here on Classic 1220, www.classic1220.ca. Leanne, if somebody is reincarnated and they go back to this planet, they go into another dimension or another universe, wherever they go next on their trip to self-awareness and learning. Is it still possible to connect with them as a medium?
Because at a soul level, we can still exist in different dimensions, different planes all at the one time.
Oh, that's very interesting. What is the difference?
That's my perspective.
Yeah, well, you're the lady who speaks to them, so you get your information firsthand.
Exactly.
What is the difference between a medium and a psychic?
Great question. And I think a lot of people get confused with what that difference is. So a psychic is someone who can read energy from physical people, so the living. So what we can do is connect in with a person's energy field, their aura, and we can read their thoughts, their emotions, their experiences, and potentially predict what might be coming up in their future. So psychics are about reading physical world people's energy, whereas a medium is able to connect to the energy of a deceased person and communicate with that being and bring through information for the loved one to confirm that the soul continues after they've passed, and to potentially also give the loved one in the physical world some guidance in their everyday life.
Now, when you give someone a reading, do you use both of your talents and gifts, that being a medium and the other a psychic?
I can do, yes. And what we say is that all mediums are psychic. Not all psychics are mediums. So mediums have the ability to communicate with those deceased loved ones and also use their psychic abilities as well, whereas psychics really do just connect to people on the physical plane.
When somebody sits down in front of you and asks for a communication with the other side, how do you prepare yourself for it?
How I prepare is that I make sure that I'm grounded, that I'm present, that I'm calm, that I don't have chaos going on around me, I guess, because it makes it difficult to hear and be present to the messages and information coming through. So for me, I might do a walk, like I do walking meditations rather than sitting still. So I'll go for a walk and make sure I'm grounded and present and preparing myself.
You and I have to take our first break, Leanne. First of all, thanks very much for joining us. What day are you over there now? Right here now it is, let me see, 11 p.m. Eastern. So what time would it be? 11 p.m. Eastern on, let me see here, December the 14th, which is a Thursday.
So it's Friday the 15th of December at 2 p.m.
Stand by. I find this amazing. Stand by. We'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue speaking with our very special guest this hour, all the way from tomorrow in Australia, Leanne Barefoot. And this is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and you're listening to us around the world, as well as in your cars, in your home, in your office, no matter where you are, anywhere, not only in the Niagara region, but throughout the province of Ontario on Classic 1220. And we're streaming worldwide on classic1220.ca. We'll be back after this short break. Don't go away.
Fortune teller, can you see what my future's going to be? Can you see?
Through early morning fog I see visions of the things to be, the pains that are withheld for me. I realize and I can see that suicide is painless, I can take or leave it if I please. The game of life is hard to play. I'm gonna lose it anyway. The losing card I'll someday lay. So this is all I have to say.
Exonation Leanne Barefoot is our special guest, and her website is thebarefootmedium.com .au. It's thebarefootmedium.com.au. This is the X-Zone. I'm Rob McConnell, and you're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and around the world on classic1220.ca. How can you tell if someone is a good medium? Leanne, there's a lot of people out there making a lot of claims, tons of websites on the internet. How do you know who's who and who to trust and who to pour your heart out to?
Yeah, I personally, because I have an academic background as well, I would do my research into the person that you're looking at booking a reading with, for example. Look at what their professional background is, what their experience is, how much development they do around their spiritual abilities, so learning around that, and how much they develop personally as well. So that would be my first thing to look at, to know whether they are working on themselves, because we're dealing with people, we're in the business of grief and loss.
Right.
When we're connecting to people who are passed over. So we want to make sure that they're able to honour that and understand that people are grieving, that they're in loss, and some people are actually traumatised. And so you would want to be making sure you've got someone that's compassionate and empathetic, and that they can bring through evidence that the soul continues after a loved one leaves this earth. So they need to prove that they're communicating with your loved one. There's no, I've got your grandmother here, she says they love you, she loves cooking. That's not evidence or proof that the soul continues.
So what would you consider as proof?
So there's lots of different pieces of evidence that those in the spirit world can bring through. It might be how they passed, their personality, who's in their family. It might be different things they did for a living, different experiences that they had, their cultural background, their date of birth. There's so much evidence that we as mediums can bring through. And sometimes people get really lazy with their mediumship connections and just bring through a couple of pieces of information that doesn't really prove much.
How do you deal with the amount of grief that you're put through whenever you do these readings? Like, my goodness, you're only human.
I've personally dealt with a lot of grief and loss in my life, so the spirit world prepared me for this work. My background is also psychology, so I have a professional background in being able to hold space for people and not take on the emotions that others might be feeling. So I'm good at being able to detach from that and also afterwards cleanse and clear myself so that I don't take that on.
So how can I tell when a deceased loved one is trying to or near me or they're trying to communicate with me? Like, I've got a number of deceased people that I've lost in the last couple of years. So how would I know if they're trying to communicate?
There's several different ways that loved ones who've passed over can communicate. Sometimes it's through external signs that they bring you. So it might be things like music that plays or songs that play randomly that remind you of your loved one. Some people talk about feathers or coins or those external things of you. So they're very much messages from those in the spirit world. Now, they're not all messages from those in spirit. We have to be discerning with feeling into and trusting if we think of our loved one when that song plays, for example, or that feather is there, or the butterfly, or whatever it might be, then that's normally a message from our loved one. They can also communicate through our dreams, and often that's the way that many of us experience our loved ones coming through to say they're okay. If you're more open, you can also hear them and talk to them and communicate them and feel them come around you. You can smell them. So there's so many different ways that they let us know that they're still around us and still looking over us.
I would imagine we just have to keep ourselves open, keep our heart open to the possibilities, and fight off all our natural instincts to say, no, that can't be real.
Yeah, and look, I love a good skeptic. I'm a good skeptic. I'm an academic as well.
Right.
So I always question whether, is it a fact, or is it just something that I'm making up? And a lot of people that have lost a loved one are often in that grief. They're reaching and really looking for proof and evidence that their loved one is around. So it can be really challenging when we're in that heightened sense of emotions to be able to discern whether it is our loved one or not, or to open our hearts, because we're feeling so intensely the loss of someone that we loved.
Mm-hmm. What can I do to cope with the grief experienced after a loved one passes?
Honor the emotion. So if you feel sad, then allow yourself to feel sad. I think we often get taught to, or don't get taught, about our emotions and how we can become conscious and present to them. So one of the practices that I teach a lot of my clients is to just ask yourself how you feel each day. I feel sad, and that's okay. I feel frustrated, that's okay. I feel angry that they're gone, and that's okay. So it's really moving into acceptance of whatever emotions we're feeling and honouring our relationship with that person, because they're still there.
During the time of COVID, many people lost loved ones and were unable to say goodbye because of the travel restrictions, because of the concerns of the health community that the COVID was still rampant and on the loose, on the run, taking more and more people. How do those people who may have lived in one province but couldn't cross that province line to say goodbye to their loved one, this would, to me, would seem like a different type of grief, because you can't say goodbye. How do you cope with that?
And it's certainly for a lot of people, particularly during that COVID period, who couldn't get to their loved one physically before they passed, it certainly creates an extra level of trauma. Now, grief is a significant process that we all move through, and it can add a layer of trauma. My husband has recently just had that experience with his brother that passed, and he was in Australia, and they were overseas. So there's a huge amount of trauma, guilt, anger, frustration, I wasn't there, and blame and anxiety that goes with that. So it's about really honouring the process of moving through those emotions, reaching out for help and support to move through them, and putting some strategies in place for your own mental health and well-being in that process, as well as honouring their memory. So, you can sit down and do a ritual, a process, put a photograph up, put some flowers down, light a candle, whatever works for you to honour the memory of that person. whether you're physically there or not, for those who've passed, is not important, because the love continues and it exists no matter where you're physically located.
So would the person who passed, who is now on the other side, would they understand what happened and why that person wasn't able to get there to say their goodbyes?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They are fully aware, particularly when they move to the spirit world, of what's happening and what went on. And often, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes loved ones find it easier to pass if a particular person isn't around them, because there may be a strong sense of love and connectedness with that person. So they find it difficult to let go and to move on to the spirit world with someone they love so intensely being there. And so they understand that.
What about a mother who loses their child? How do they deal with that grief, which I would imagine is the worst grief possible?
Yeah. Day by day, moment by moment. And, you know, it's certainly a very challenging experience of grief, a very challenging experience of trauma that no parent thinks that their child will leave this earth plane before they do.
Yeah.
And so there's several layers of that grief. It's not only losing them to not being in the physical world, but it's also losing that relationship with mother and son and all the experiences that they were yet to have, or mother and daughter, all the experiences and learning and growth and all the things they did or didn't get to do. That is another layer of grief. So, you know, it's a challenging process. Grief is experienced differently by everybody, and it's also experienced differently depending on the relationship we have or had with the person who's passed. So it can be more intense or less intense depending on that connection.
Leanne, stand by. You and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour. And Dixo Nation, our guest this hour is Leanne Barefoot. Her website is thebarefootmedium.com.au. And we're going to be talking to Leanne about her work as a psychic detective and much more coming up as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada on Classic 1220. And around the world on classic1220.ca. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me every Monday through Friday right here on Classic 1220 from 10 p.m. until midnight as we continue our investigation into the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. Leanne and I will be back very shortly. Don't go away.
Through early morning fog I see visions of the things to be, the pains that are withheld for me. I realize and I can see that suicide is painless.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. Before we get back to our guest this hour, I'd just like to remind all our listeners around the world that we have some great programming available for you each and every day here on Classic 1220. Starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, we have Steph and Danny Z doing the morning show with my good buddy Chuck LaFleur, who is the news director. He does the news. Then in the afternoon, Pete Dichter. He does the drive home. And then, of course, you have us Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on Classic 1220. My guest this hour is Leanne, Leanne Barefoot. Her website is www.thebarefootmedium.com.au. Now, Leanne has written a number of books, Exo Nation. She has written Psychic Development, Basics of Working with Spirits, Psychic Development, Divination Tools and Techniques, Psychic Development, Reading the Tarot Intuitively, and Mediumship Development, Connecting with Spirit. Once again, her website is thebarefootmedium.com.au. Leanne, tell us about your work as an intuitive criminal investigator.
Well, I'm currently doing a PhD around that work with one of the universities here in Australia, and basically researching as well as doing some cases around how mediums can work with police or law enforcement officials to support them, particularly with the investigation of homicides.
Now,
so my other academic background is criminology.
So have you actually worked on cases with law enforcement using your gifts?
I have.
And how successful have they been?
Well, mediums don't solve crimes or homicides.
Okay.
They give evidence and information that comes through from the deceased victim to police for them to follow up and investigate. Now, some of those details and the facts and the evidence that I've brought through has led to police then finding more details and evidence to be able to arrest, convict, and sentence offenders.
My hat is off to you for that. Fantastic.
Thank you.
As a former police officer myself, I believe that when investigating a crime and going for the arrest, you need all the tools available. And I know for a fact that psychics and intuitives can be a definite asset to law enforcement. So once again, my hat is off to you.
Yeah, fabulous.
You are also a transformational coach. What does that entail?
So I work with people who are looking to manifest or create different experiences in their life, whether it's around love, relationships, work, career, family, or health and well-being. And so I essentially work with my spiritual gifts to help them shift, change, transform any thoughts, beliefs, stories, emotions, or even sabotage patterns that might be holding them back from living the life that they want to.
How long does that take, Leanne, if somebody was to seek your guidance and your expertise as a transformational coach? How long does it take you to see the results, or how long does it take for the client to see the results that are improving their lives?
Well, it depends on the individual. So I can give the guidance, the insights around the thought patterns that might be taking place, for example. So someone might have some negative beliefs or some limiting beliefs that I always meet partners that cheat on me is a limiting belief that can hold someone back from meeting and having a healthy relationship in their life. So what we have to work with is the individual looking at changing those thoughts and those beliefs. So it requires them to do some work on themselves. So how quickly or how slowly we see results depends on how willing the person is to do the work needed to change those beliefs and stories.
Do you find that there are times when clients build a dependency on you? And how do you deal with that?
I definitely have had that experience in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very clear with my clients about I'm not there to fix their problems. That's a sabotage pattern that we can get into in relationships around putting other people's needs, wants, desires first. It's a victim and perpetrator and, drama pattern in relationships, which is what I've learnt in psychology as well. So, I don't play that role for my clients, and I'm really clear about that. And I'll step into having a conversation with them open and honestly if I feel they're becoming dependent, and just invite them to look at that.
Have you found that the type of questions that you're being asked, whether it's as a medium or a psychic, have changed over the years? Or is it the same old, same old?
The types of clients, I guess, that I work with within my coaching in particular have changed over the years. So as I've learnt and grown and as I've changed the way I work, I tend to start working with different types of people. So many years ago when I first started, I would do tarot readings, and it was often around when will I meet my partner, or some of those basic things like that, or when will I get the job, so future things. Now I get people who are really wanting to change who they're being in the world. So it's about making changes within themselves first. So I guess that's the type of client I'm now seeing, and I think COVID has changed that a lot for a lot of people. It's got them really reflecting on who they are and what they want in the world.
COVID was a time of self-reflection for a lot of people. And the world changed so much, and we're still seeing the results of those COVID years. And I just shudder to think of all the pain and all the anguish and all the stress that has been caused and is still being caused by that horrific disease, virus, or whatever it was. How did COVID affect you fine folks in Australia?
Well, it certainly did affect many people. And here in Australia, we had some significant restrictions put in place in terms of travel.
Right.
In particular, and we're a very large island nation, so the only way in and out is through flights, and so they got restricted very significantly. Now, me personally, I was meant to fly out just after COVID hit to my husband, who he was living in Colombia, which was where I was living as well. So I was due to go back, and my flight got cancelled. So I was here, he was there. And we spent essentially 3.5 years apart as a result, which I know a lot of people experienced. So significant issues around that, and financial stress as a result of two couples living in different locations, families being apart, etc. So I think that's one area we were affected by. I think everyone in the world was affected financially and economically. And I think the world is still in an economic hangover, if you can call it that, where we're still trying to get back on our feet after dealing with such a massive global event.
I can see the results of COVID each and every day with people that I meet with and talk with. And it certainly was devastating for the majority of people on this planet. And they're still saying that there are many people who are still suffering from COVID. And now some doctors are relating COVID as a possible cause to PTSD.
There's certainly a trauma response for a lot of people. And, one of the other areas that was affected here was certainly people losing jobs.
Yes.
We have housing issues as a result of, people being stuck here
Yep.
or all sorts of things. And the economic side of that is that rental prices or the ability to purchase your own home is significantly out of reach for a lot of people. So we also have a lot more homelessness as a result, which creates PTSD symptoms and trauma that is a different layer of grief, loss, trauma for people. Financial loss, job loss, health and well-being loss is grief.
We are experiencing the same thing over here in Canada right now. Homeless situation has come to a, you just can't believe how many people are homeless. The cost of homes are ridiculous. The mortgage rates are crazy. You've got families and their children who are now having to use food banks because they just can't make ends meet. And it's like, holy cow, when is it going to stop? When are people going to get a break?
Yeah.
It's
certainly, like I said, it's what I've kind of been feeling is it's like, and I describe it like a hangover. If you've drunk too much the night before, it's like we're still in that hazy period of recovery. And it'll take a little bit longer to come out of that and to recover. We will get there, though. I think from past pandemics, they've often lasted around 10 years, is from what I've heard. So, we may still be walking through this for a little while longer.
Hopefully it won't be as long and hard, and hopefully there won't be another pandemic that hits us, even though the variant keeps on changing. Now, who knows?
Yeah.
You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Leanne, please stand by. And Exonation Leanne Barefoot is our special guest. And if you'd like to find out more about Leanne, if you'd like to get a one-on-one consultation with her, her website is thebarefootmedium.com.au. I'll be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up this edition of the X Zone, hour number 2, coming to an end from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on Classic 1220, your hometown station. And, of course, we're streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. The X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on Classic 1220. Don't go away.
Try to catch the deluge in a paper cup. There's a battle ahead. Many battles are lost, but you'll never see the end of the road while you're traveling with me. Hey now, hey now. You talk like Marlene Dietrich, and you dance like Zizi Jeanmaire. Your clothes are all made by Balmain, and there's diamonds and pearls in your hair. Yes, there are. You live in a fancy apartment off the Boulevard Saint-Michel, where you keep your Rolling Stones records and a friend of Sacha Distel, yes you do. But where do you go to, my lovely, when you're alone in your bed?
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. My guest this hour is Leanne Barefoot. Her website is www.thebarefootmedium.com.au. First of all, Leanne, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, and thank you for sharing some stories. And, man, you are one busy lady, I would imagine.
I am. Thank you so much, Rob, for having me. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, I've got a lot taking place, particularly with doing a PhD and study in amongst the work that I'm doing.
Well, my best wishes to you for that, and to you and your family, the very best of this year 2024. And as a psychic, can you give us any insights into what we can look forward to in this year?
This year feels like it brings a lot more balance to people, where we start feeling like we've got balance between our physical world and our physical experiences and what might have been happening in the past. So we've got more balance there with our priorities. It also feels like we start seeing some momentum with some of those new things coming into us, new opportunities. So we may be seeing some of the endings or the finishing ups or the completions of things, but we'll also see some of the new opportunities and the new beginnings start to come forward into our reality.
All right, this question is kind of personal. What are the possibilities for my future around love, relationships, career, finances, family health, and well-being? Just pick one or two of those.
Yeah, okay. Put me on the spot, Rob. So what are the possibilities? If I tap into, firstly, career, it feels like you continue to make progress, you continue to make headway. I also feel like, though, I want to talk about career-wise, you taking some more breaks to get a little bit of balance for yourself and really enjoying the freedom that life can bring you as well. You like travel and adventure, don't you?
Oh, I certainly do.
Yeah, and so I'm hearing that there's a little bit more of a balance coming next year for you around both the work side and the travel and adventure. That really fuels your tank, yeah?
Sure does, yeah.
So I'm hearing do more of that.
Well, you'll make my wife very happy, because that's what she says I need to do, is take more time off, because she points out I'm not as young as I used to be.
So it feels like you start preparing yourself a little bit for, not that I feel that will happen soon, but, you know, in the future, it feels like about 5-6 years' time, you might start winding back a lot. So this feels like next year is you stepping into balancing a little bit more and preparing yourself for that future stopping work.
I agree with you 100%. I truly do.
Thank you.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you before was, how do you say goodbye to a loved one after an unexpected loss?
What I would say to someone who's going through that experience is to really just kind of sit and feel the love that's between you, and to write a letter if you feel drawn. That's a really powerful way of being able to imagine that they're still with you, still here. If you did get the opportunity to say goodbye, what would you have said? Say that on paper, or you can speak it out loud. They'll hear you, they'll see it. So you can still do that goodbye to give yourself that little bit of closure. And then if you're writing a letter, have a ceremony where you maybe burn that and release that and let that go.
Wow. I guess that's giving it back to the universe?
Mm-hmm. And it's also just, you know, for you to be able to go through a process of, you know, if we have a loved one that's ill or unwell, then we often have time to prepare ourselves for the possibility of them leaving.
Right.
Whereas with a sudden passing, we don't have that preparation. So we have to do it somewhat in reverse. And, you know, sitting down and writing that letter and doing it that way, I've found is to be a really powerful experience that helps you to be able to just honour that relationship that you have and that you still have. And your loved one who's passed is still there. They're still energetically with you. So it allows you to be able to communicate that with them, whether you see them, hear them, feel them, or know that they're there or not. They are.
Do you think it would be a good idea for a parent to bring a child to a medium to communicate with someone that the child loved and lost so that they could have closure as well? Or are children too young and too young to understand the significance of what may be happening?
I have done readings with parents and their children before, and it can be a very powerful and beautiful experience for the child. I would say that it would depend on the relationship that the parents and the children have, because often it's about the parents preparing their child and opening them up to the possibility. So it's about parents communicating and teaching their children about the possibility that life might continue after we leave this earth plane. And if a child's open to that and knows that, then it's fairly easy. As a child, for me, I had spirit all around me. They were there. I was from a family that didn't feel spirit or know spirit was there. So I wish as a child that my parents had have taken me to a medium, then I would have understood who I was more.
Children are open books most of the time. And if a child goes to seek the guidance of a psychic or a medium with their parent to help them prepare for the future, how could they best be served?
How could the children be best served?
Yes.
And I think as a medium we have to take a very different approach with children. It does require a little bit more teaching in amongst that connection. So there's two roles that we play. So, how do we serve them? We teach them, we educate them, we help them understand where their loved one might be and what's happening and what happens to the soul. So it's education as well as bringing through the evidence from their loved one.
Should we fear death?
No. and then you say why? And I know that we often don't, and that's we often do fear death. And my response is from a medium's perspective, knowing that life continues. And my own father is getting older, and he's fearful about passing.
Right.
And my conversation with him was, well, at some point we are going to. Every single one of us will leave this earth. So it's a given. It's a fact. For the person who leaves this earth, they're not going to be impacted. It's going to be peaceful and easy. It's more the ones left behind that have to deal with the sadness, the grief, the loss, the trauma that might be there.
My final question to you tonight. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Darren.
No, that's okay. So there's nothing to fear.
My final question to you tonight is about your gift as a medical intuitive. How do you do what you do? Where do you get the information on the client that ultimately really does help them?
Yeah. So medical intuitive work is essentially like being able to look at the physical body or the deceased loved one's body and see it as if it were an X-ray and know where there's dis-ease or imbalances within the system and what condition or issue that might be, what organ might be affected and impacted. For me personally, I use my medical intuitive training in connecting with the deceased loved ones, and particularly with my criminal investigation work, to be able to know from a victim of homicide in particular where there might be injuries on their physical body and what happened to them, and potentially what weapon might have been used, etc. And as a former police officer, you would understand what I mean by that.
I certainly do. Leanne, we've got about a minute and a half before we have to say so long for tonight. I was wondering if you had any words of wisdom, or if there's anything that you'd like to share with the X Zone Nation tonight.
Yeah, my words of wisdom or insights for those people that are listening would be to really live life to the fullest. Don't fear death, to live life. Death and life are opposite of each other, and they're the only two things that are certain. So enjoy your life, connect with those that you love while you're here, honour your relationships, embrace them, do what feels loving and kind and right for yourself, do what makes you joyful and happy while you're here.
Words of wisdom. Any more books in the off?
My book at the moment is probably the PhD.
Yeah, I guess
at the moment. So, so a thesis around supporting homicide investigations is where I'm at the moment. There will likely be a book from that.
Well, Leanne, the time has come when I must say so long to you, my friend. I want to thank you very much for joining us here tonight on the X Zone. And I do look forward to the next time we meet so that we can share further information and let our listeners know what is beyond the veil, as those who are beyond the veil see it and relay it back to us. So until then, thank you very much, and the best of success to you and getting your PhD.
Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. And X Zone Nation, if you'd like to contact Leanne and get arrange a one-on-one consultation with her, the website is thebarefootmedium.com.au. Well, that's it for tonight, X Zone Nation. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. And the X Zone is heard Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight right here on Classic 1220 and around the world on classic1220.ca. So until tomorrow night, my friends, always remember to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.